In 2021, Google was selected to provide cloud services to Israel. Known as Project Nimbus, it was a $1.2 billion agreement with Google and Amazon, and this spanned all branches of the Israeli government, including the Israeli Defense Forces. Now, the agreement was for 7 years and could be extended to 23 years. Now, fast forward to the present because we all know there's a certain overseas conflict that's bleeding onto our home turf, including at Harvard University protests, Columbia University switching to online classes due to the unrest, and we've even seen a U.S. airman emulating himself because he didn't want to be complicit in the genocide, which gives credence to when Vivek Ramaswamy said that we're in the middle of a national identity crisis. And that's not to say that we shouldn't care about anybody but ourselves, but when we're so emotionally engrossed in problems overseas versus the issues on our own home turf, that's when we know we've gone too far. And it could be reasonably foreseen that Project Nimbus would cause protests in the current day, as it resulted in the formation of a group named No Tech For Apartheid, a group of Google workers heeding the call to rise up against Project Nimbus, as they believe this is enabling apartheid, ethnic cleansing, and settler colonialism. And on April 16th, they had a day of action to demand that we stop enabling this in their New York City, Sunnyvale, and Seattle offices, which took place in the form of an in-office protest, as well as a sit-in.
Google, Google, you can't hide!
We charge you with genocide!
We charge you with genocide!
No Google, Google, you can't hide!
No Google, Google, you can't hide!
You are funding genocide!
You are funding genocide!
Sundar, Sundar, you can't hide!
Sundar, Sundar!
Which took place in the Google CEO Thomas Kurian's office. And they were given fair warning to stop what they were doing.
That I'm just here, what I spoke about earlier, because if not, we'll have to call law enforcement and go in that space and
Understood.
And get trespassed and all that.
Yeah, we understand.
Okay, just trying again. Okay.
All right.
And after 9 hours of protesting, they were arrested. And more than 20 employees who participated were fired, as communicated in an internal memo, warning others to rethink protesting, as well as the Google CEO, Sundar Pichai, saying, while this is a culture of vibrant, open discussion, ultimately it is a business, and not a place to act in a way that disrupts coworkers or makes them feel unsafe. Which it is our right as citizens to protest, and from some moral standpoint, the case can be made that continuing to engage in business with Israel is wrong, but Google is a private business at the end of the day, and as long as what they're doing isn't breaking any laws, then we really can't do anything other than express our opinion. And if we're truly unhappy with it, then by all means quit. But you can't expect in this scenario to protest without ramification, especially if you were given countless opportunities to stop what you're doing. Now, I could end this right here, but there was somebody in the group of fired employees that caught my eye, Kate Sim, who immediately took to X to say that McCarthyism is alive and well, which is crazy to me because in what other country can you, for example, loot, riot, and burn buildings with little to no regard to human life, and not only come out mostly unscathed, but also have most of the mainstream outlets call it mostly peaceful protests? Now, these people have a tenuous grasp on reality at best, but guys, it gets a lot worse. Because a post on X resurfaced from December of 2023, where Kate claims to be a feminist who cares about Palestinian mothers giving birth without medical aid, girls too malnourished for puberty, women without menstruation pads, and on the same day, posted on X clearly dismissing claims of rape, claiming YT, white women, are weaponizing them to punish men of color, citing cases like Emmett Till. So because there were some instances of false accusations of rape by white women against men of color, all white women who speak out against rape should be outright dismissed? I mean, I do believe that all accusations of rape should be properly vetted, but downplaying it the way that she does is just wrong, and it reminds me of the horseshoe theory in politics. Think of the shape of a horseshoe, where the further ends of it are closer in physical distance than the parts that are center left and center right. So it theorizes that those on extreme sides of the political spectrum are more similar than they thought. And while I don't think it's true 100% of the time, I do give it some credence, especially when you think of people like Pearl Davis, political commentator who spends a lot of her time simping for people like Andrew Tate. So much that she's been dubbed the female Andrew Tate, and has been called out as pandering to the men who are absurdly filled with hate towards women, as she applies unequal standards to cheating men versus cheating women, saying women don't make good wives, denying their nurturing nature, and then you have far-right incels like Nick Fuentes going off on their hatred of women.
I don't want stupid conservative women in my face yelling at me. I don't want to have to listen to stupid, mouthy because I am a man. And in public life, women need to shut the up. That's a conservative position. And people say, oh, you're such a cad. You're so rude. What are you, an incel? We used to beat women. I'm not in favor of that. I'm not saying I like that. But it's so funny. Are you aware that in the 70s, guys used to get drunk, come home, and punch their wife in the face? And women were told to shut the up? Like, and could you imagine what they were doing 100 years ago? I'm saying, just because things are old isn't a good heuristic. Women need to shut up.
Meanwhile, you have people like Kate Sim, who claim to be feminists, but when it comes to white women, nah, they're invalid. Now let me remind you that the things that she said weren't even a year old. They're from December of 2023. But that isn't the most scary part, because her position prior to her firing was head of child safety. And no, I'm not kidding. And what's more, she published an article about victim blaming and anti-rape technology, calling out our culture being dismissive, making it an obstacle for the credibility of one's claims, saying we live in a society that views the victims as liars, and saying that we put women's safety on them, referencing SafeTrack, saying that their messaging make it feel like the onus of not being assaulted is on women. While of course making it a point in that article that part of the problem is that white women are seen as more worthy of protection. And here's another article that she wrote, Who Gets Sick from Yellow Fever? Saying it's not just a preference for Asian women, citing her experience at the Seoul Rape Crisis Center that this yellow fever results in Korean women being 1/3 of the sexual assault victims by the white man, because white people with yellow fever look for Asian girls attracted to white guys, but that the mobility is not equal because whites can move freely through borders. But Korean people do not share this mobility, which she said has led to the normalization and prevalence of sexual violence against Korean women by white men. Which I do believe that there are cultural issues that allow stuff like this to happen. But what Kate doesn't seem to understand is that she's equally part of the problem. This is clearly somebody who hates white people enough to not listen to anything that they say, even in cases of sexual assault. Yet she's then put in a position of head of children's safety. And I'm no longer baffled that stuff like this happens. I mean, it seems like we overlook these kind of things on a daily basis. But I'm just glad that she's no longer in that position. Because had she chose to not participate in that sit-in, her not-so-distant past may have remained hidden in plain sight. Which just goes to show you, the more that you F around, the more you're gonna find out. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to this channel, hopefully I've earned a subscription. Here's some videos for you to watch in the meantime. Until next time, peace out.